Hey, Calum,
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you.
How's the day so far?
Um, yeah, it's been all right. Nothing too interested, unfortunately. How about you?
It's just going almost the end of the day. So I have to finish the interview and get back to
Yeah,
sleep.
okay. Yeah, it's fair.
So, Calum, Relicta, your EP is scheduled to be released tomorrow. So, can you tell me a bit about this
Yes.
EP, the songwriting and
Um,
production behind it?
yeah. So it's the fourth release for us. We've already got two EPs and a full length album. But doing a full length album was just too much hassle. As cool as it was to do it, so that's why we decided to go for another EP this time. Um, and for sort of like the songwriting process behind that, we've kind of got our process down to a T in that we don't really tend to write much together in the room. The way it'll usually work is that Drew or Sean, our guitarists, one of them will send me either like a fully fleshed out song that they've written or a few riffs and they've gotten stuck. Um, and then I'll program drums to go along with that, like with what I hear. And then we'll have like a bit of a back and forth about general feelings on that. Um, and then once we're at a point of everybody sort of being happy with how the drum parts that I've programmed sound with it, that's when we'll then take it into the practice room and make sure that everything translates sort of in person or whatever. Um, and then, if it wasn't a complete song by the time that I got it, that's usually when that starts to happen. Maybe like the few riffs that were there now having drums brings the inspiration for the rest of the song kind of thing. Um, and then once we've got all that down, that's when we take it to call our singer, so that he can start getting an idea for his vocal melodies,
Yeah.
his lyrics, all that kind of thing. So it's usually sort of done step by step, but that's pretty much how we've done most of the songs that we've written, kind of from the beginning. So it's what works for us. I know that for a lot of people, sort of jamming in the room together is the best way to do it, but for us, it's just here and there. Like Point of No Return, the second last song on this EP, that was mostly written by me and Drew jamming in the room together, but generally it doesn't tend to work for us.
And did you put some kind of concept behind this EP?
So I don't know if it was intentional, but I know that Call's lyrics, from my understanding, because I don't tend to pry too much because a lot of it will be, things that are maybe personal to him. But from my understanding of the lyrics, it all sort of revolves around um, like mental health and having anxieties.
Yeah.
Maybe things that have caused grief or that kind of thing. Some of it personal to him, some of it not so much, a more general observation. And so, like I said, I don't know if that was a conscious decision on his behalf for all of it to revolve around
Yeah.
that general idea, but that's kind of how it wound up being, which was also where the EP title
Yeah.
came from, with it being the Latin for the word abandoned. It felt kind of fitting with the lyrical themes throughout the EP.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. And talking about the cover art, that the clock thing. So, what does it define, and what is the idea behind that cover art?
Um, oh, that's a good question because I never really asked too much about that. I just thought it was quite cool. I think, and I could very, very well be wrong about this, and I'll no doubt get a telling off if I am. But I feel like it's meant to sort of represent like a countdown. Um, at least that's what I take from it with my knowledge of the lyrics and such. And sort of maybe only having so much time on your hands, and how that sort of links in with those lyrical themes. Like I say, that's what I take away from it. If I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll get a tell off for it.
Interesting. So, talking about the EP, the EP is so powerful. Each song is totally amazing. So,
Thank you.
there's so much of power in this or in each songs, and it's also so wonderful to hear the entire EP as a whole to talk about. So, how as a band do you feel the outcome of this EP?
I think that everyone is really happy with how it's sort of turned out, because I think that it's probably the most concise release that we've got so far. Because other people might disagree, but all of us in the band, we don't feel like we particularly fit into one subgenre of metal very well, because of the fact that we've got influences from old school metalcore bands, influence from thrash bands, death metal bands, bands that were part of like the new wave of American heavy metal, all that kind of stuff. So we've always had sort of like our various influences on display, particularly with the full-length album that we did. There was a lot more variation, but I feel like with this EP, it's just sort of aggressive, heavy, and fast kind of start to finish. It doesn't have, you know, like on the album, like we had like a bunch of clean sections, some bits with like string sections, all that kind of stuff. Whereas this one, I feel like it's just a lot more balls to the wall heavy. And I think that we're all happy that we did that, because it wasn't a conscious decision for that to be how it would turn out. It was just sort of each song that got written, it was like, okay, this works really well with what we've got so far. And there was a song or two that was considered for the EP, but then other stuff got written and we were like, no, with the direction this is going in, you know, maybe shelf those songs that we had written and just go with these new ones instead. But yeah, I think that everyone's really happy with the sort of direction that we've gone in with this, because the main things for us is big riffs and big groove, and I'd like to think that there's quite a lot of that on each song. So yeah, we're all really happy with how it's turned out.
Sounds amazing. And last year you put up an amazing record called Connection Lost. So how was the reach of that particular album? Were you able to tour in support of the album, or the touring never happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing really happened, because of the whole pandemic just sort of getting in the way of that. Because even though Connection Lost wound up being released on the 24th of July, it was originally meant to be released on the 1st of May. And that had been decided sort of pre-COVID. And we booked an album launch show. We were looking to try and get other shows sort of around the country and, you know, really promote that. And then in March, when things started closing and, you know, lockdowns were being put into place, whatever, I know it varied from country to country, but over here it was announced as like a 3-week lockdown. But we didn't want to be too optimistic. So we were like, okay, well, how about we push it back to the end of July? Because by then everything will be fine. And as everybody now knows, nothing was fine by the end of July. But because we'd already pushed it back, we didn't want to do so again, because we had absolutely no scope for when anything was going to go back to any degree of normality. So we just were like, okay, well, we'll just release it. No launch show. We had a bunch of pre-orders, and, you know, we didn't want the people who pre-ordered to wait even longer than they already were. And we were just kind of, okay, well, once things do go back to normal, we'll do something with it then. But then it was just lockdown after lockdown, and we were like, should we just write something new then? Which was basically where this EP came from. And the only thing we really managed to do with the album was it was the 28th of May this year, so almost a year after the album came out, we were able to have a show in line with government guidelines. So reduced capacity, people had to be seated, wearing masks when they were standing, all that kind of thing. And to my knowledge, it was the first metal show since last year in Scotland. So it was great to do that, and it sold out in a few days. And it was really nice to, you know, even with all these restrictions in place, it was really nice to be on stage again and see people coming to shows, having a good time. And we kind of treated that as something of an album launch. Like, we did a longer set than we normally would. We were headlining. Most of the set was made up of songs from the album, and even though by that point we had this entire EP written, we were like, we won't play anything from it because of the fact that we've not been able to do anything with the album. So even though we had bigger plans for what we would do with it, it was nice to at least be able to do that one show as a kind of a late album launch. And even though we didn't manage to do anything with it, it did get a far better reception than I think any of us really anticipated. And, you know, we were really surprised by the amount of pre-orders and all that kind of thing. So, you know, absolutely no complaints, especially given, you know, the circumstances. I think it could have gone far, far worse than it did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with the state that the world's been in for a year and a half, we're all pretty happy with what was or what did happen with it.
And do you have any plans tomorrow on the release of the EP?
So tomorrow, no, but the day after, on Saturday, we've got an EP launch show here in Dundee with 2 other Dundee bands, Volcano X and Bed of Wasps. And we're really excited about that because it's the first gig that we've done since that one at the end of May, but now there are no restrictions in place, so people can, you know, actually move about, you know, like they're not stuck to their seats. So it'll be nice for people to be able to sort of let loose a little bit more, but still be sensible, all things considered. And then we've got a few more shows booked across the next month or so, that, you know, but we're not really in a position to do like a tour for the EP, but being able to have a few more shows, like the week after we're playing in Glasgow, and then a couple of weeks later we're playing in Edinburgh, and, you know, so being able to have a few shows around about the release is nice, even if they are a couple of weeks apart at a time. It's, you know, after nothing happening for so long, there's absolutely no complaints about that. So yeah, excited for that particular launch show on Saturday.
It sounds good. Sounds good. And do you guys have any plans to make some kind of a big tour by end of the year or probably early 2022?
So we've not got any plans in place at the moment, but I know it's something that we would be keen to do, because in 2019 we did a small European tour, and for everybody in the band except for Pablo, our new bassist, because he wasn't in the band at the time, I think we all sort of see that as the highlight of our time in the band so far. So I know that we want to do something else again. I don't know if it'll be like a UK based tour, or if we'll try and figure something out for touring through Europe again. But I think the next year we definitely do want to get something sorted tour wise. It's just a case of seeing what's possible when, essentially.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And how has the musical journey been for you so far?
Like since the beginning of this band?
Yes.
It's actually been really good, because so all of our members have been in other local bands before. It's kind of how this band came to be, was old bands fizzing out, splitting up, but the members that still wanted to be doing something sort of come together to form this band. So next month it'll be 5 years since the band started, and like I say, by that point we'll have released 3 EPs and an album, and done a European tour, which I think is pretty good, given that we don't have any sort of illusions about who we are or what we can do. Like, none of us are expecting to become rock stars, you know. It's like, two of the guys in the band have kids, you know, like there's only so much that we can do. So for us, it's a case of it's a hobby for everyone, but we want to do as much as we can with it. So we've tried to do as much as we can and be sensible about what we do. And I think that we have managed to do a pretty good amount. I don't think any of us have any complaints about what we've done or anything that we've missed out on or anything like that, you know. Even with supporting some great bands, like we've gotten to support Broken Hope, we got to support Sacred Reich, you know, like it's always cool to have that as well. So yeah, I think that I'm speaking for everyone, but I know certainly for me, it's been a great 5 years. And I don't think I would change anything from the last 5 years.
And how has the support been in Scotland and around the world?
It's been great. Like I know that I've mentioned is that we were surprised by the amount of pre-orders and support that we got for the album, but for this EP, it's grown again. We've not had as much in the way of pre-orders for anything that we've released before, so that's always great, and it's always nice seeing both, you know, people showing support locally and internationally, you know, because you don't really want to alienate one or the other, I guess. So whenever we see people in and around Scotland saying, you know, like, oh, hope that you guys are able to play closer to where we are soon or whatever, that's always great. And then you're getting messages from the States or elsewhere in Europe, all that kind of stuff is always, it's just kind of mind-blowing that people care enough, you know, like that's the real thing for me, is just whenever we do get those messages of support, or even if it's just someone commenting on something that we've posted on Facebook or whatever, it's always really nice to see that people sort of take time out of their day to do that and to actually care enough. So yeah, none of us ever take the support that we get for granted at all. It's crazy.
And what would be the dream for you guys?
I think everyone who's in a band does dream of like being a big rock star one day. You know, even though we say it's not going to happen, and you know, we're not going to pretend that it is, I think any one of us, you know, if we could stop working our day jobs to, you know, play music together for a living, I don't think any one of us wouldn't jump at the opportunity to do that. But I guess in a more realistic sense, just for it to keep on going the way that it is, you know, just keep on doing everything that we can with the resources and the time that we have, and just, you know, hopefully get bigger and better shows, and, you know, just keep on writing music that we all like, and hopefully improve upon and make us all better musicians as well, you know. Yeah, I think that for all of us, the real dream would just be to be the next big thing.
Sounds good, sounds good. And if you want to go on tour with a band and to one particular venue, what would be that band and what would be that venue?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, that would definitely vary for each member of the band. So speaking for myself, one band that I would love to tour with would be Discarnate.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even though they're definitely much heavier than we are, because of them, you know, being a straight ahead death metal band, just the amount of groove that they've got is unreal. And I feel like we've got a similar ethos in that big groove, big riffs kind of thing. So I feel like even though we're not as heavy as them, I feel like we'd be a good support for them. And I love them. I know that Drew and Cole both love them as well. So it's, you know, it's not entirely selfish. And for where to tour, I'd really love to tour through the States, just because of the fact that there's so much variation in one place. But I suppose that's sort of down to the fact that one state over there is the size of like a European country, right? So yeah, that would be, for me, touring with Discarnate and doing a tour through the States would be, yeah, that'd be ideal for me.
Awesome. Sounds great. Sounds great. And kind of finally, what would be the message for the fans around the world?
Oh, the main thing would be a massive thank you. Because like I say, the main thing for me is just the fact that there are people who would consider themselves fans of what we do. You know, like that alone is mind-blowing. Like I can never get over the amount of support that we get and how nice people are about what we do, and it really does mean the world. And you know, it's, if I could go and personally thank every person that's shown us any degree of support, then I would. So that's my main thing, is just a massive thank you. And that I hope that we don't wind up writing stuff that people who like us hate, because that'd be a real shame. So yeah, that'd be my message for the fans. Oh, and hopefully everyone who said, I hope that, or sorry, everybody who's gotten in touch with us and said, you know, hope you play near me soon or whatever, that I hope so too. Because it'd be great to meet some of these people face to face, and get to play a show for them and see new parts of the world as well. So yeah, that'd be my message. I think everybody else's would probably be along the same lines, maybe worded a bit better, but yeah, that'd be the message there.
Sounds good, Calum. And Calum, thank you so much for the time you have given me today for this interview. And thank you for putting up an amazing EP this year. And thanks again for the music. And you have a great evening out there.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much for offering this interview, and thank you for your kind words as well. It really does mean the world. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.